Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight series. My name is Claudia Thompson, and today I'm here with Oscar Brooks, a managing director and founder of V88. And he is a biochemist turned no-code entrepreneur, and he's on a mission to spread the word of no-code technology. He founded the company in 2019 at the age of 21. And he now has over 60 clients in 9 different countries. So that is quite the achievement. I'm very excited to have you and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Claudia. It's really, really cool to be here. Thank you.
Cool. Why don't you start and tell us how you turned from biochemist to a no-code entrepreneur?
Okay, so good question. I've always been into technology, and I very much followed the path for what I was strong at school at the time. So I was always good with science. I just understood it. It made sense to me. And I found it super interesting. And there was no real in-depth sort of software offering at the school I was at. And I was also young and clueless, to be honest. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I pursued a route to study biochemistry at university in Reading, which was really fun. And then I came out of uni and was a little bit sort of overwhelmed by the real world, let's say, in many respects. And I started working for a software company, and they were providing a custom developed software platform for research institutes to capture clinical trial data, basically. And I was doing a combination of sort of solution demos, customer support, so customer facing roles, but with a technical kind of edge to them. And what I found is I was showing the solutions and demonstrating them to the customer, and it was a really nice product, to be fair. It was at the time, but it was custom software. And so there was a team of engineers sort of looking after it who had spent months and months and months building it. And every time a customer asked for a tweak or an adjustment or a new feature, or if they could have any kind of adjustment on what it did, I would sort of have to take that back to the team and discuss it with the developers. And the response was usually, either no, we can't do it, we just don't have the time, or we can, but it's chargeable and it's going to be quite expensive. So suddenly to make a custom adjustment would cost more than the actual solution itself to the business, which confused me a little bit. And I found it frustrating, and I didn't like going back and saying no to people. So I started doing a bit of research, and I came across the concept of low code, no code technology. And I did further digging, and basically came across a couple of no code tools that were quite new at the time. One of which was called Glide apps. And that for me was the one that I just immediately fell in love with. I started using it in my free time, and I built myself some apps for workout tracking and sort of basic life stuff, just for fun, really. And then I took it a step further, and I went and built the platform that I was actually working for using no code technology on my own in my bedroom across, a couple of weeks in the evening. And I sort of thought to myself, well, hang on a second. If I can build this platform, which is relatively sort of high level, it's quite bespoke, there must be other things I can do with this Glide platform, with this no-code technology. Surely there are other businesses I could go and build software for. And that's basically where the penny dropped for me, where I found something at last that I thought, this is A, super enjoyable, B, I can see myself actually providing value to people and to businesses with this tech, and C, I could potentially do it on my own watch. So that was how it started, and hopefully that kind of makes sense. But that was the transition from sort of the biochem into the world of no code. A bit of chance, a bit of curiosity, I guess.
Sounds like a good mix though, and it sounded quite like a natural transition. And you're now in your fifth year, and so you made it over that magic 2-year hurdle. What would you say is your secret? Why are you still going strong, and you have in fact over 60 clients already?
Yeah, so it's technically sort of, I would call it fourth year. So it was sort of a year myself exploratory, another year with sort of two of us as kind of a sort of partnership freelance type setup, and then we've just finished our second year as a limited company. So I think it comes down to two main things. In fact, three main things. The first was that we took a risk in investing time and energy into something which was not hugely respected at the point where we started doing it. So that what I mean by that is a lot of people thought that sort of no code was a bit gimmicky, not really powerful, couldn't really solve real problems in business, couldn't really do anything that anybody actually could obtain value from. We were right. It definitely can. So the first was just taking a bit of a risk and adopting something new early and just trying something different. The second is how we treat customers. We kind of always we set out to be the sort of creme de la creme sort of holistic agency in the no code space where there's a lot of personal touch. We build very, very strong relationships. We've actually had tiers in conversations with customers for different reasons since we started this. So it's been it's been awesome for that reason. But I think for us, customer retention and choosing quality over quantity has definitely been one of those things. And the third being that I think we prioritized, we decided what in each moment, which is the most important thing for us to focus on right now. You know, you come across so many points in time where there are so many decisions to make, and you sort of sit looking at this great big list of things you want to do, things you could do, things that other people say, you know, that may or may not benefit you. And it's a case of just deciding based on sort of how risky a decision is and what all the potential outcomes are. I think we've made quite good decisions and sort of stuck to our guns in what we want to be doing and who we want to be working with. So keeping that sort of vision of let's not get distracted by all the different possible things and let's just focus on what we know we're sort of good at and what we want to do.
Fantastic. One of the things someone said to me once, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
Because yeah, as you said,
like it.
so easy to get distracted by squirrel, shiny object, and so on. So thank you for that reminder. And you mentioned earlier that since last year, you hired 4 new team members. What qualities do you look for in members to join the team?
This is such an interesting question because I put out a LinkedIn post really recently on this exact topic. Sort of, so it basically started off saying I love hiring, but then it went into all of the difficulties that you face there. And what I was weighing up in my mind when we were hiring, and this is what I spoke about in my post, was would it be more beneficial? And in my case, we look for developers, or at least we have been thus far. We will look for other team members soon, but it has been developers. And for us, this Glide platform and this no code development space is still very new. And so there isn't exactly like a huge sea of existing developers who just know it. So the question is, do you bring in somebody who knows it already, but maybe with a sort of a ceiling to their sort of what they could potentially become, but you get instant results? Or do you bring in someone much more trainable and moldable who has the higher ceiling, but actually is going to take a while for them to bed in before they can actually start delivering? in the real world for real customers. What we look for is so far actually the latter. So we have a longer term vision in mind, and we're okay and we're happy to absorb stuff in the meantime. So our focus is finding someone actually with a good sense of humor, who is patient and who just you could go for a beer with them. There was this awesome article I was reading about Steve Jobs and how for his interviews he would actually take them for a beer. And one of his criteria is, could I have a beer with this person? Skills are skills, ability is ability, but what differentiates it for us is what is the person going to be like in the space? Are we going to work well with them? Are we going to understand each other? Can I say things and they just get it? Or is there going to be a sort of a clash there? So for us, it's really sort of personality and long-term potential. Those are the two things that we look for, I would say.
Fantastic. And have there been any learnings as an employer already?
Yes. There have been. I think it is impossible to know what someone is going to be like before you know them well. So, luckily for me, I've been pleasantly surprised every time. So I can't sit here and say, oh, I have this ability to foresee, but I think because I don't, we've been really lucky with who we've brought in. I think for me, it was about respect, and being able to earn the respect of the people that we bring in and actually get them in line with what we're trying to achieve. So being quite young, it's always a bit strange when pretty much everyone that I will interview is there's a high chance that they're older than me, right? So it's creating a situation where that is irrelevant. Now it should be, right? But in a lot of people's eyes, it isn't. I remember I used to, in the early days, jump on sales calls and things like that, and maybe it would put people off at the beginning. So it's establishing a situation where there's respect, where age is not a factor at all, and we're all people, we're all on our own sort of mission, and it's if our missions align, then it's a win-win. So that for me was the most important thing to try and nail, was that side of things. The tricky part is project management, is allocating who's doing what and when, and making sure everyone knows what they're doing. So that's been the most difficult part for me to nail. I'm not, I would say, naturally an incredibly organized individual, so I've had to kind of train myself to be more organized. So we had a couple of sort of difficulties along the way, and we've created systems and ways of doing things to remove those difficulties, basically.
Yeah. And you spoke about wanting to take the team potentially out for a drink or a beer. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Not so well. I think the reality is, when I initially would sort of say to people, oh, I'm starting a company, I'm starting a business, the first thing is, oh, that's so cool. It means you can do what you want when you want to. I think the reality is very far from that. I certainly, I have less free time doing this than I would if I had a job. So, it's sort of just a willing sacrifice. I happen to absolutely love what I do. I absolutely love it. All of us at V88 adore what we do. And I think for me, it's super fun, and it's just planning. It's nothing more than just planning. And if someone, before, if someone said, hey, do you want to do something tonight? The answer is like, yeah, sure, no worries. Whereas now it's a case of, I just need to know a little bit in advance, and just plan stuff. Get things in the calendar, keep an organized calendar, have your social stuff sort of planned and blocked off.
Cool. So ring fence the things that are important and make time for it all.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
100%.
If you had to cast yourself back to your 21-year-old self, is there anything you would do differently now?
Identify a niche sooner and just focus on it. We found ourselves trying to accommodate, and this is the nature of when you start, especially sort of the agency model. You start off and you don't really know what your speciality is. So you kind of you do what you can to take any project that comes your way. So initially we build internal custom apps for business, right? But if someone said, hey, we'd like a website, can you build a website? I would take it on and say, yeah, sure. We build a website using a no-code website builder or something like that. But it ended up being way more hassle than it was worth. And I spent hours and hours and hours of time slightly out of my comfort zone doing something I didn't enjoy and had not charged enough for. So what I would do going back is sooner, if possible, understand in my mind, this is what we do. We build what I basically just said and focus on it from the very, very beginning. We're much more selective now, which is a great position to be in, where we'll work on projects where we know we're going to enjoy it. We know that the customer is going to be delighted, and we know it's going to be worthwhile for both parties. We're going to give value and receive value for it. So that's the one thing I would probably change if I went back.
Yeah. Fantastic. So it's the whole learning what you do, what your customer wants, and then trying to marry the two together to make sure everyone's having a good time, really.
Yeah, 100%. That influences so much. It influences your brand, your message, your copy, your content. And I was clueless with it for a long time. And now we understand that it makes things a lot easier, because when people come across us, they can much more easily understand what we do and work out if it's for them or not. So it works both ways, if that makes, it's important.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that, because so many business owners that I speak to, they're scared of making that step of niching down, because they think, oh, if I niche down and only work with this group of people, that means I'm excluding all the other people, and they just see the potential loss of income or loss of clients. But yeah, as you said, there's so much more to niching down, and the advantages really outweigh the disadvantages.
100%. It's short-term loss, long-term benefit. I speak to so many agency owners who sort of dabble in any, lots of different stuff, and they ask, how do I specify a niche and actually just hone in on it? How do I know what that niche is? I don't, and they're brilliant and they are amazing at what they do, but they're the jack of all trades. So it's difficult to become well known as that, pretty much,
Absolutely. And on the back of that, what do you think are some other common misconceptions that people have about running a business?
I think it's the fact that it's on your mind at all times, and people don't quite realize that. So sometimes I'll be, I might finish a really long day, and go out for dinner with my girlfriend, and just like, it takes a little while to relax sometimes. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it does. And she'll just say, are you all right? And I'll say, yeah, I'm absolutely, I am genuinely absolutely fine. I'm just sort of switching off. So it definitely is heavy on the head. I take a lot of my thoughts to bed with me, which is not a great thing to do, I don't think. A lot of people do their thinking in the shower. A lot of people do their thinking at different times. I do it before bed. So it's being able to actually switch off and just say, right, I'm now chilling. I am just going to chill now. So that's definitely one thing. I think organizing the operation is the most unexpected challenge of every single thing. Now, that may be different for it depends who you're talking to. I love sales. That's where I probably would sort of position myself in a business as my best asset. Other people are super organizational, right? And so they would say the sales is the issue. So for me, it's definitely keeping everything on track, and the importance of building systems into an operation like that is just I cannot stress it enough. If when your to-do list is your email inbox, it's the worst place to be in. Or when it's up in here, you forget things slip away. So I think, the importance of having it documented and the difficulty to establish that and be consistent with it is ridiculously hard, but it's doable. We have done it, but it wasn't easy to do.
Doable and rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Fantastic. That already wraps up our interview. How can people find out more about V88, or how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm super active on LinkedIn, Oscar Brooks, and our website is www.v88.co.uk. You can reach out to us from there, and there's all sorts about sort of us and what we do. We've got a new blog that's going to be coming out with all sorts of interesting educational content around sort of no code, what it is, how it works, where it best fits, some of the problems that we solve, and things like that. So those are probably the two best places to find me at the moment. We have just released a YouTube channel, but it's very new.
Okay. So watch the YouTube space.
Yes. 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 Hence the mic. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome. Likewise. Thank you, Claudia. It's been really nice.